from Axios, they say this is way less. No wonder people don't talk about stuff like this.
This is way less fun.
Like, this is boring.
Yeah.
Why would we talk about stuff that actually has like evidence and economic facts and paperwork, paper trails with it, and confirmed reports and stories? No wonder no one talks about this stuff. Just in, the Biden administration announced a final rule that makes it harder to classify workers as independent contractors. A victory for gig workers that could shift the business models of companies that rely on them.
Not a victory.
No. Making it, what I tweeted was, making it harder to classify someone as a gig worker is by definition not a victory for gig workers.
No.
That's a destruction of gig workers.
Yeah.
So it can't be a victory for them.
If you're going to force them to make them an employee and pay them benefits, essentially.
Yeah.
They're no longer a gig worker.
People look at this as a benefit because you know what's going to happen. Everyone who's working as a gig worker is going to magically get hired at a high-paying job with benefits and get the same amount of hours and same amount of money. Prices aren't going to go up on anything. There's going to be the same amount of jobs to go around, and everything's going to be fine, except for these people are going to be making more money, and that's it. That's all. Can you imagine believing the things that I just said right there? Because that's what you have to believe to actually think this is a good thing.
And that's what they believe.
Crazy.
And this is why we talked about it when it was California. Like, California led the way, and now they're implementing California nationwide.
Look at what just happened with the Pizza Hut. The Pizza Hut franchises in California where they fired 1,200 workers.
Yep.
What's their plan? They're going to use gig workers to deliver their pizzas because they can't afford to keep the delivery staff on the payroll at $20 an hour. And so they're going to use DoorDash and Uber Eats and stuff like that. Well, when you know it, the Biden administration's got an answer for that. Let's just make it where you can't be a gig worker.
So now your pizza is going to cost $45.
This is another scary part of it.
Which helps poor people.
There's that's what best. Well, but the poor people are making more money because they're not gig workers anymore. So it all works out in the end. It actually works out for two people. One, anyone who has a vested interest in collecting income taxes. I don't know who that might be. And two, anyone who has an interest in collecting union dues from people.
And who would that be?
I have no idea who that might be.
This is just a cat chasing the duck.
That's what I was going to call it. Yeah.
And cats hate water, and when the duck goes in the water, it can't catch it.
A lot of cats and ducks today.
That is what I heard growing up.
Yeah.
It's
just been instilled in your brain.
None of those sayings from my, anyone on the birthing parent side. This all came from non-birthing parents.
Well, it's probably because of the patriarchy.
My grand non-birthing parent, my great grand non-birthing parent, my non-birthing parent, even though they have no legs, they still had a lot of sayings.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have much else to do.
They didn't have much else to do. Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Bernie had words to say about this, Charlie.
Yeah. He said, I applaud the USDOL's, the United States Department of Labor's final rule to stop unscrupulous employers from deliberately misclassifying their workers and cheating them out of hard-earned wages. When 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, workers need labor laws that protect them, not allow them to be ripped off. It's much better if they make no money.
That's a lot better.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone, because they say that this isn't really for Uber and DoorDash, they're trying to fix the healthcare. Apparently healthcare uses a lot of independent contractors.
Oh, like nurse contracts?
Now, what you know,
where the nurses make a lot more money than they do from the hospital.
What you know from experience is that nurses would much rather work as an employee at a hospital because they get paid so much more money than an independent contractor.
No.
Isn't that correct?
No, they wouldn't. Of course they wouldn't. They all want to get paid travel nurse pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they're going to make an employee, I guess, because this is apparently supposed to be targeted at healthcare and transportation and stuff like that. So from Reuters, Biden administration issues rule that could curb gig work. And something I was going to say earlier, as we were talking about the bureaucratic deep state, there's a law that people have been wanting to get passed called the PRO Act. And the PRO Act is modeled off of this law in California that didn't go so well. And the PRO Act wants to make everyone an employee, basically. And they can't pass the PRO Act because it doesn't have enough support from people. So what do you find? The Department of Labor decides that they are going to just make the rules that they can't get passed in the PRO Act.
Yeah.
It's not all of the rules, but it's some of them. And then it's going to be some more of them, and then some even more of them until we have the PRO Act, except for the fact that they bypassed Congress and just did it through the bureaucratic apparatus.
Yeah. It's administrative law that still acts the same as law.
The DOL on Tuesday issued the final rule that will force companies to treat some workers as employees rather than less expensive independent contractors, in a move that has riled business groups and will prompt legal challenges. The rule is widely expected to increase labor costs for industries that rely on contract labor for freelancers such as trucking, manufacturing, healthcare, and app-based gig services. Most federal and state labor laws, such as those requiring a minimum wage and overtime pay, apply only to a company's employees. Studies suggest that employees can cost companies up to 30% more than independent contractors.
Because they're also forced to pay part of their taxes and forced to pay for their health care.
Got to pay the FICA side of things.
And all kinds of benefits.
Insurance, stuff like that. So the rule will require that workers be considered employees rather than contractors when they are economically dependent on a company. It does not go as far as wage laws in California and other states that place even greater limitations on independent contracting. So one of the main rules here is that if you are, get the backward logic of this. If you are economically dependent on whatever place you happen to be a gig worker for, then they're going to get you out of a job, is essentially what they're saying. Like, we're going to find the people that are the most dependent on this work that they're doing right here, and then we're going to make it so the company might just not use any of their services at all. Now, in their mind, that means that they're going to hire them at a nice, whatever the wage is, and give them all these benefits.
But the company doesn't have to hire them.
They don't have to do that. They can just find another way to not use. I mean, they're going to hire some of them.
Yeah.
Sure, some of them. But a lot of people are just going to get screwed. And so I get how they're trying to make this the rule, because it goes with their Fair Labor Standards Act, and it goes all the way back to 1938, stuff like that. So they're trying to find ways to work it in using that by saying that if they're economically dependent, they can classify that as an employee. But those are the people who are like doing the gig work. And I've told people this a bunch of times. I've done a lot of gig work in my past, and people who do this more often than not do it because they like the freedom of being able to work when they want and not work when they don't want. When I was first playing music, I was driving for Uber at the same time. I would
and Lyft, by the way, competing companies,
all of them. And I even had both. I got the lights on my car, I had the stupid mustache up there, and then I had the cool Uber light and all that stuff. And you just log in on both of them and see whichever one gives you a good trip first. And I did that because I wanted to work for like 2 weeks. I'm not touring. And then I would leave for a month. And then when I get back, guess what? I still had a job. I still had a way I could come back and make money. It's amazing. It's like the best thing that ever happened. So the fact that they want to try and take this away from people purely...
You're independent contractors, basically, when you're flipping houses?
Yeah. They want to go after construction also. Like, most of the construction industry are independent contractors. Yeah. People who come and just do jobs for people. And to try and make them people who can't get hired anywhere else. All right. And to think that they're going to come in and screw these people out of a job and say that they're helping, man, it just burns me up. It just burns me. See anything else important in here saying, or is that enough?
I think that's enough.
Okay. I just can't get any more mad right now, man.
Burns your biscuits, which makes you mad, man.
Yeah, it does.
And then biscuits get burnt. I made biscuits and gravy last night, and if I would have burnt them biscuits, I'd have been madder than
Did you make biscuits and gravy last night?